StrokeHacker Live. This is Jerry Jelston. I'm so glad that you're here to watch us. If you're watching it live, would you put a 1 in the comment section below? And if you're actually watching this as a repeat, would you put a 2 in the comment section below? We're kind of tracking who's watching when and that kind of thing. So it's an early morning, it's a morning interview. So let's track and see what that happens. The other thing is, if you would right now go down below the screen and there's a share button. Hit that share button because we're building a community here. We can't build a community if we don't invite people into it. So we need you to invite family, friends, other stroke warriors, stroke hackers, recovery hackers, people who need to see this, who need to be part of this. Invite them to watch this. We really need your help, all right? Well, let me get to the show. We've got a tremendous story today of an outstanding athlete, a guy who done 3 marathons, was training for his 4th marathon, if you can believe it, when he had a hemorrhagic stroke. And the next thing he knows, he woke up a month later. So kind of a spooky event, but please welcome Brad Berman. Brad, welcome to the show. It's great to see you, dude.
Thanks for having me, Jerry. Thank you very much.
It is my pleasure. And we met Sean originally back in the 5 minutes, not Sean, we met Brad when we were doing 5 minutes with Shawnee shows back in November and did a show with Brad then. But as now we're meeting more people and we're telling more stories, I wanted to get Brad back on because he's got a very compelling story. So, Brad, if you would, could you just kind of fill us in a little bit on what happened with your whole situation?
Sure, Jerry. I was in the middle of training for my 4th marathon in 2013 in August, where all of a sudden I suffered a hemorrhagic stroke and was immediately had a third of my skull removed and placed into my stomach for safekeeping, and then was put in an induced coma for a month. And then
let me just. Some people know about this, but I think that shocks me because Sean Anton went through the same exact procedure. So they actually put the piece of your skull in your abdomen, and you can feel it floating around in there.
Sorry?
And you can actually feel it in your abdomen?
Yeah, you can knock it, like when it's in there. It was when I woke up, I didn't know what was in my stomach, so it was a very weird feeling.
So to be in the hospital, to wake up a month later, be in the hospital, and to feel something hard in your gut, which you can't even imagine what it is.
Yeah.
What did you think when people said you've been out for a month? I mean, I think you told me before you've never been in the hospital before, so what was that like?
It was very disorienting and confusing to me because I had always fancied myself a health nut. Like I took incredible care of my body. I ate well. I exercised like crazy, and it never occurred to me that something catastrophic had happened to my body at a young age.
So at that point, then, once you kind of got all those bits and pieces put together and kind of understood your situation and what was next, what was the level of the issues that you were challenged with in recovery? What all did you need to accomplish?
I think for me, I woke up and was basically completely paralyzed on my left side. So I had to regain use of my left arm and my left leg, which was extremely challenging. I also had some issues back then with short-term memory, which really improved over time. But and I think a lot of like things like speed had to come back to my thinking.
You say speech?
Speed.
Okay.
Yeah, pace. Like everything was very slowed down. So it was because it was shut down for a month. So it took a while to get everything going again.
And you, how long were you in the traditional hospital, and how long? And then when did you kick into more of a rehab facility?
I was in the hospital for about a month, and then I was moved into NYU in New York City to have my skull replaced. And then I was back. I moved to a rehab in Rockland County, which is not far from New York City. And then I was moved to yet another rehab in White Plains, New York, where I did the bulk of my rehab.
Okay. Well, I'm going to move on to that, but just before we move forward, hey, folks, if you just joined the show, please, this is a tremendous show, and what we're doing here is building a community. So would you go down and hit that share button below the frame here? Just to hit the share button. Share this with friends, families, groups that you're in. Let's build our community by everybody helping us to grow. So, Brad, you did some really cool things and very innovative, sort of new age, maybe it's not the right word, but new technology, at least, in some of your rehabilitation. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. I think when my wife saw what happened to me, her goal immediately was to help me regain as much as I could physically, because I was so in such bad physical shape. And what the doctors were able to tell her at the time was that the most promising physical rehabilitation technology that exists today is something called robotics therapy. And robotics therapy, which is the best thinking now about neuro rehab and physically is that the way to reconnect the brain with a affected body part is through high repetitions. And it's something that no physical therapist could do, because I don't think any of them would have the stamina to take you through 1,000 or 2,000 repetitions. But at the time, when I was in the hospital, MIT was producing these robots which could help you focus on a body part, and within an hour and a half, you could end up doing 1,000 or 2,000 repetitions. And
can you explain a little bit about, like, what does the machine do? Just give people an idea of what the machine does for you or with you to get those reps and to sort of accentuate your workout.
What the machine does is, like, it'll give you a goal as to what you need to do, whether it's squeezing your hand or moving your arm. And to the extent that you can do it on your own, it allows you to, but to the extent you need a little aid, it will assist. And it's really amazing technology, and how much you have in and how much you can.
So is a lot of it like electronic pulse kind of things, or is it a physical mechanical component that's actually moving your part of your body or helping you move that part of the body?
Yeah, it's more of like a each machine, the different machines are tailored to a particular body part. So I had one for the arm, I had one for the hand, I had one for the ankle because I had the foot drop after my foot. And then you work with these machines, and it helps you to reprogram the body part.
Now, to your knowledge, how much is, because you used all of this about 3 years ago, correct? Was when you were rehabbing.
Yeah.
And to your knowledge, how much has that expanded as far as more robotics, more hospitals, more people using this type of therapy? Are you aware of that at all?
It's the technology is expensive, so it's not well distributed around the country. So what my family did was they sat with our rehab hospital, which was a great one, and said, what do you need to fund this program? And they gave my wife a number. They said initially to have a lower limb robotics program, we're going to need $650,000.
Just for you?
No, just for the machines themselves, and to staff them, to hire people that are expert in using them. And So to fund the program, they asked for $650,000, and then within a year, my family had raised, mostly my wife, $850,000 and they funded the program. So it was really amazing, remarkable.
Wow! So you actually went out and raised that amount of money, your family did, to support your rehabilitation.
Yeah.
It was Burke Rehab in White Plains, New York. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And how much time, overall, how much time was that amount of money raised? Because that's phenomenal.
That amount was raised within a year, which was, my wife maintained a full-time job while I was sick, and then she kind of took on this task with the hospital, which was almost a second full-time job that year.
I would say more than a second full-time job. That's incredible. And then you have 2 small children too, correct?
Yeah.
And how old are they now?
My older son is about to turn 10 this month, and my younger son is 7 years old.
So they were like 4 and 7 when you had your stroke.
Yeah, they were 4 and 2.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Well, we're running up against our needle here when it comes to time. You've had at this point, what's your level of your recovery? What all are you doing now, 3 years after your stroke?
I'm driving. I'm working full time as an attorney again. Physically, I feel a lot stronger. I'm not where I wish I was. I'm not running yet. But I'm doing a lot of biking. I'm doing a lot of weight work because my body was so depleted. But it was a very long and frustrating road. But I think I would tell people that are watching it that it is, as hard as it is, the whole key is to have faith in your body and to just stick with it, because I think it's a lot of people use the word perseverance as I was trying to get better, and I think that became my favorite word. It's not a smooth and fast.
No. And what do you think helped you to persevere? What drove you to keep pushing when it was bumpy and when you wanted to give up and when it wasn't a fun thing to do?
Yeah. I think for me, my goals were, I had two little boys that, I always had a vision in my mind of the kind of father I wanted to be. I wanted to be active. I wanted to teach. I was a good athlete. I wanted to teach them sports. And, I wanted to teach them something through this, that hard work is important and pays off. So and then when my wife was a huge inspiration, because as a man, I always wanted to, impress the girl that I liked. So it was my sons and my wife.
Got to impress the wife. That's always a good thing.
Yeah, I got to. Yeah.
Well, look, Brad, hey, I appreciate you coming back on the show, sharing your story. Brad said to go ahead and give out his phone number, which is on the screen. I'll put it in the introduction as well. So he's welcome. I mean, he welcomes the opportunity to talk to people. Part of his story is wanting to continue to help others to recover and do what he has done and continues. You made a comment to me before we started the show, Brad. Maybe you'd hit on that point also. You said that people need to recognize that their recovery will go on longer than what you're initially told in the hospital.
It is. I mean, some people think of their recovery as being as long as the insurance company will cover their therapy, but it really continues. I'm about to hit 5 years this summer, and I would say every month I feel a change physically. So it's
so 5 years post, you're still feeling improvement and enhancements.
I still feel significant change happening.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
But you're still working at it too, correct?
Still, yeah. It takes a lot of work.
All right. Well, look, Brad has been so kind. Also, we wanted to reintroduce the audience to Brad because he's also going to do come back as a guest host because of his being a young stroke survivor, stroke warrior. He has a lot of young people that he knows, is familiar with, who are in recovery, who are stroke hackers themselves. So he's going to, Brad's going to start talking to some of these folks, get them on this show to talk about their experience. We all want to learn from one another. So go to strokehacker.com there on the screen, join our community, be part of this, share this show with your friends and neighbors if you would. And Brad, we really appreciate your time today and look forward to having you back on as a host here pretty soon.
I look forward to it. Thanks so much, Jerry.
Well, thank you, sir, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.